Well, hello everybody. This is Mr. Bedley again with fourth grade Excel lesson number 15. Fasten your seatbelt. I'm sure you've already seen on the length of this video. It's going to be a little longer one. That's the bad news. The good news is that you don't have very many problems to do on the other side of this math paper. So hang in there. A little bit more learning from me in a lesson and a lot less of the working problems out on your own. So here we go. Pay close attention and work your way through this lesson with me. Try things on your own when you can, and then listen closely as I go over the problems. Today we're going to be looking at fractions and models for fractions, what fractions mean. We're also going to take a little quick look at a couple of geometry terms, particularly the word rectangle. That's going to give you some trouble, so pay close attention on that. Here we go. Have the class describe each of these shapes in their own words. So stop and think right now. Circle. How would you describe a circle? Well, I would say that it's round, right? There's no corners, there's no straight edges, and the entire shape is perfectly shaped. As you turn it, it does not look any different at all. If you had like an egg shape, as you turned it, it would look different. You wouldn't really be able to tell that you even turned a circle because it's the same distance from the center to the outside edge all the way around. Rectangle, I'm going to come back to that one. I'm sure you all know what a triangle is. You probably knew that since you were in kindergarten. Any shape with three sides is a triangle. A square is also easy. You learned that correctly in kindergarten. A square has four right angles. I'm going to show you those. You got a right angle here, right angle here, right angle there, right angle there. Four corners that all are 90 degrees or perfect corners, right angles. And you have four congruent sides. 1, 2, 3, 4. Four sides that are all the same length. That's what makes a square. So what I want you to get in your head right now to try to remember, say this over and over again to yourself, a square is a square. What you learned in kindergarten is correct. A square is a square. Now, we get a little trickier on rectangle. That's why I'm saving that for last. A rectangle is not what you were taught in kindergarten or when you were a little baby and your parents were teaching you your shapes. It's actually, you need to undo your thinking on that and rethink it, because rectangles simply have four right angles. This is a right angle, that's a right angle there, that's a right angle there, and that's a right angle there. That's what makes it a rectangle. The fact that this side is long, long, short, short does not make it a rectangle. When you were learning shapes, you probably looked at that shape right there and just called it a square, but nobody taught you that that's also a rectangle. The way I remember this is I say it's a square rectangle. It's a special kind of rectangle. It's a rectangle that has four congruent sides, so we call it a square. But this shape and this shape are both rectangles because they have four right angles. So, at least in my class, if you're listening to this and I'm not your regular teacher, your teacher might not do this, I'm going to say to you over and over again, a rectangle has, and your response has to be four right angles. The word rectangle gives a hint to that. You have rect, which almost sounds like right, and you have angle. Rect, angle, right angle. Rectangles have four rectangles. That's what a rectangle is. Okay, enough of that. You're going to get confused on it. I can almost guarantee you when you go through your guided practice and your homework, you're going to not recognize those rectangles, and it gets really confusing. But, get some help. Google it, and you'll get better at it with time. The next part, the bottom portion of a fraction refers to the total number of parts in the group, and it is called the denominator. The top portion of the fraction is the part of the total group that you're referring to, that you're talking about, and is called the numerator. I have a way to remember this. D in denominator stands for down. It's the number that is down in a fraction. Numerator, the second letter, is U for up. Notice there's no U in the word denominator. So this is the number that is up, the numerator. All right, so what you just learned is that the bottom number, you got to really understand what fractions are. The bottom number refers to the total of everything that makes up one whole. And they didn't tell you really that there, but it's the total parts that make up the whole is the denominator. The numerator is the special parts. So that might be the shaded parts, or if we're talking about what fraction are dogs, then it's the dogs. And where, the denominator might be the animals, and the denominator or the numerator is the dogs up here. It's just the part of the whole that you're referring to. So let's take a look at number 1. This one should be pretty easy in review for you. I have 2 shaded parts, one there and one there. I've got 6 total parts in the whole thing, so that means that this is 2/6, and you circle 2/6. Go ahead and write that in and circle it, and then try number 2 on your own. Pause the video, turn it back on when you're ready for the solution. All right, so it says, what fraction of the figures are circles? Some kids get confused on this, and they don't recognize that these 2 squares have nothing to do with the shapes. That's for the fraction. So first of all, let's determine how many total shapes there are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that means the total that makes up the whole, the one whole, is 5. There's 5 shapes in this whole picture here. How many shapes are circles? 1, 2. So there are 2 that we're talking about, or referring to, out of the 5, and then you should have circled the 2/5. All right, moving right along. When writing fractions in words, 3/5 is written as 3/5. This is the word form of this fraction. You might want to pause the video and read that and think about it for a second. 3/5, that's how we say this fraction. The way we say this is 7/13. Notice that the TH, notice that TH that's on the bottom, or the denominator of this. This number 7 is just pronounced like 7, but this is not pronounced 13, it's 13ths, which means you're dividing something up into 13 equal size parts, or there's 13 total objects in a group, and that's what that 13 is referring to. Simeon has 5 ties. Okay, let's draw a picture of this. I'm going to draw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up here. He's got 5 ties. Those are all ties. 3/5 of them are brown. 3 out of the 5, 3/5 are brown, the ones with the X's. How many brown ties does he have? 3/5 means that 3 out of the total group of 5 ties are brown. Therefore, the answer is 3 brown ties. He's got 3 ties right there out of 5 altogether that make up the whole group of ties. So this tie right here might be red, and that tie right there might be green. All right, number 3. Alma has 7 hats. 2/7 of them are black. How many black hats does she have? You don't have to show your work on this, you just have to write the answer. Why don't you pause the video and see if you can write the answer down here with a label. If you didn't put a label and you turn the video back on, get that label on there. That means you're putting a word right here after your number. And it's not saying what fraction are black hats, it's saying how many. So your answer has to be a whole number, not a fraction. Okay, so here are the hats. You don't have to have this on your paper. It says Alma has 7 hats, so there's the 7 hats. It says 2/7, or 2 out of 7, are black. So they basically are telling you the answer that it's 2 hats. If you wrote 2 black, add the word hats after black. You don't have to erase it, but black describes the hats. These 2 objects are actually hats. If you wrote 2/7 hats, that doesn't really make any sense. You're saying you're chopping hats up into 7 parts and you're taking 2 of the parts. We're not chopping any hats up. There's actually 7 total hats in the group, and 2 of these hats, which is the answer, are black. Okay, pause the video, do number 4, and then turn the video back on to see the solution. Alexis has 5 jackets. 3/5, oh, they wrote it in words there, of them are green. How many jackets does she have? Did you write 3 green jackets? You didn't read the question. This is a trick question. Excel loves tricking kids. Are you one of those kids that got tricked? It says how many jackets, not how many green jackets. So if you wrote 3 green jackets, erase it and change it to 5 jackets. They told you the answer, so you underline it right there. Alexis has 5 jackets. You don't even have to read this because it says how many jackets does she have. She has 5 jackets. Easy cheesy, unless you're easily tricked. Next part, there are 6 shapes. 4/6 of them were on the other side of your paper. 4/6 of them are circles. Okay, so let's write that fraction right here. 4/6 are circles. Okay, from these 2 sentences, you know that there are 6 shapes in all. Right there, 6 shapes in all. And that 4 of the shapes are circles. How many of the shapes are not circles? Well, if 4 shapes, those aren't very good circles, you can draw different shapes. There's 6 altogether right there, right? 4 of the shapes are circles. How many are not circles? 6 minus 4 gives you the 2 left that are not circles. So the answer are 2 are not circles. Draw a set of figures that would reflect this example. I just did it right here. Now you draw those shapes down here. Draw a set of shapes that would mean that. Pause the video while you're drawing. Okay, so you should have drawn 4 circles and then 2 shapes that are not circles. It doesn't matter what they are as long as they're not circles. That would be a correct answer. Write the fraction in numerical and word form that would represent the shapes that are not circles. Okay, so right here, this is a little tricky to know what to do. You are going to write the fraction that looks like this, but it's not 4/6. That's not the right answer because we're talking about the not circles. You're going to write that fraction here, and then you're going to write it in word form, which means it's going to look like this. Okay, so the fraction that looks, that's not the right answer, but the fraction that looks like that goes right here. And then over here, you're going to write words that describe that fraction. That's a big mess. Pause the video and try it yourself and then turn it back on for the solution. Okay, so it's the shapes that are not circles. There's these 2 shapes are not circles out of 6 total shapes still here, right? There's still 6 total shapes. 2/6 of them are not circles. And now I'm going to write 2/6 in word form. I'm going to write TWO dash, see the dash in there? SIXTHS. Make sure you spell that correctly. You might have to pause the video and erase and change your answer right now. Here we go with number 5. Write an equation and answer each question. So don't forget to do this part. Show your work. Cole has 7 hats. 7 hats. 3/7 of them are brown. How many of his hats are not brown? Well, if 3/7 are brown, then 7 minus 3 gives you 4 that are not brown. 3 that are brown, 4 that are not brown, 7 hats altogether. So you'd write 4 hats. All right, I didn't tell you to pause the video, so you could have just kind of done that with me. But now that you've seen that and you wrote that answer for 5, pause the video and do 6 on your own. Sylvia has 15 crayons. 7/15 of them are red. How many of her crayons are not red? Notice that word not right there. So you're going to write a number sentence. 15 minus 7/15 are red. So the rest are not red. 15 minus 7 is 8. 8 crayons. If you wrote not red, you can erase that and change it to crayons. All right, last section. We're almost there, folks. Hang on. 9 children are playing. 3/9 of them are boys. How many girls are playing? Well, you're going to have boys or girls. So if all of them are 9 and there's 3 boys playing, we can write 9. Oh, pause the video. Try it on your own and then turn it back on. Okay, so you should have already done this. 9 minus 3 is 6. There are 6 girls playing. Pause the video, try number 8, and then turn it back on. 8 people went out to dinner. 5/8 of them ordered fish. 5/8 got, these are the people that got fish. How many in the group did not order fish? You should have done 8 minus 5 equals 3. 3 people, you can write, or 3 people did not order fish. I think we just say 3 people because it's talking about people right here, okay? Now, this next part is a little bit trickier. Let's read it together, and then I'll have you try some of it on your own. Randy has 15 pets. 3/15 are dogs. 2/15 are cats. 6/15 are rabbits, and 4/15 are birds. Randy has, this should have ... right here because it's continuing down to here. He has a number of rabbits. It's not a fraction, but you can't have a fraction of rabbits. You can only have a whole rabbit or no rabbits. There's no such thing as part of a rabbit. A number of dogs and a number of pets that are not birds. Okay, so I'll do the first one with you. Pause the video and do it on your own if you think you can. But try it with me if you don't think if it sounds a little confusing. So there's 15 altogether, and the rabbits are found right here. 6/15 are rabbits. So how many rabbits is that? You would write a 6 right there. Did you get that? Okay, now pause the video and do dogs on your own. How many dogs are there? You should have already done dogs. It says 3/15 are dogs. There's the answer right there. You got 3 dogs. Okay, on this last one, you're going to do this last one like these. You're going to draw a subtraction problem. Write a subtraction problem right there on your paper before you fill in the answer, okay? All right, so I see a lot of kids that solve this. You should have already done this on your own. Not birds. They add up the 3 and the 2 and the 6 to figure out the answer. That's way too much work. There's 4/15 that are birds. 4/15 are birds. So the rest of them are not birds. So all you have to do is write 15 minus 4 equals 11 to find out that 11 of his pets are not birds. All right, that was a lot. I'll set you free on your guided practice right now. Show your work, add up your check answers for reals, and go back and find your mistakes. If it doesn't add up, get some help. Have a good day.